I got a few minutes to talk about the news before the official class start time. So I heard about this before, although I haven't seen the details. One of the rules of iPhone apps is they're not allowed to fingerprint your phone. And this has been a persistent problem. A lot of apps would like to. At one time, Uber fingerprinted your phone by getting, I think, the IMEI number until the CEO of Apple actually called the CEO of Uber and said, "You want us to kick you out of the store? Is that what you want?" To get them to stop doing it. And now apparently they found another sneaky way to do it. They use background processes associated with push notifications to get information about your device. So they can surreptitiously build a profile based on the response to those things. So I'm not sure exactly what the details are here, but it's an interesting idea. And I'm not entirely sure how the app owner benefits from this, but I do know that advertisers want to know everything about every customer. They have an insatiable appetite for data. This is why every website wants you to log in, and they try to block you because a visitor is not worth much unless they know a lot about you. So they can target ads and they can make sure that you're a unique visitor and so on. So he said it provides system uptime, locale, keyboard language, available memory, battery status, and so on, display brightness. All that could be used to somewhat identify a specific device, but it's not clear to me how you could use that to target ads. So I wonder if this is really an intentional invasion of privacy or if it's some kind of accident. There was a service included in all iPhone apps about 10 years ago that sent probes to check the quality of the network, and people freaked out and said it was a privacy invasion, so they took it off, but I don't think it was ever intended for that. It was just intended to give them information about the network so they could decide if they needed to install more access points or something. Anyway, that's getting some people excited. Raspberry Pi is going to have an IPO apparently, so that will be interesting. It's certainly a popular product. I don't know if it's a well-run company that makes a profit or not, but that's interesting. I would have expected them to be bought out by somebody like Apple or Google or something, but apparently they're an independent company. So this one I thought was very interesting. The first thing they said was you could read other people's chat histories on OpenAI, ChatGPT, and that I thought would be amazing. That would suggest that it's actually training the model on chat, and then other people see that trained model, but that is not what happened. They promised, I thought, and all the sources I could find say they do not do that. But what happened here is an individual user put up some screenshots and was able to show how, without putting in any prompt at all, he saw a whole bunch of data from other people who were putting up like trouble tickets, and it included personal information and even names and passwords of the account, because they put that in the chat, they sent it to ChatGPT, but he's seeing this in his chat history, but it's from somebody else's chat history. And this is something that happened many times. There are students who used to log in to go to like Yahoo Mail, and they'd see somebody else's mail. What usually happens here is it's the caching servers. You have a web server someplace, and it can't handle all the traffic, so you have caches all over the world that store temporary copies of things, and the caching servers can get confused and mix one user's cache data with another user's cache data. This is a fairly common defect on the web, and it's not too important because it doesn't affect that many users. It's just a sort of collision at the cache server. That's probably what's going on here. It doesn't look like any kind of systematic problem where what you type into ChatGPT can really be seen by someone else. And this reminds me, almost all the large companies have forbidden their employees from using ChatGPT because they're afraid of this. And I really don't completely understand what they're afraid of. I think under normal circumstances, the stuff you type into ChatGPT does not go to another user any more than the stuff you type in Gmail goes to another user. They're completely separated with the same kind of technology, so I don't think it really makes sense for companies to freak out about putting confidential data in ChatGPT to the extent they do, but they do. Many people are very nervous about doing that. Let me just check and see if there's comments. Okay, none in the Twitch. All right, so now this is, the Biden administration has been pushing hard to regulate AI. everyone is convinced, and I think this is primarily because the government people believe the lies from the tech people that say they're going to make it a robot that will replace a human and take over the world. That's what they're afraid of. Gen AI, all the big companies claim this is happening. It's complete garbage, but that makes the government afraid, so they want to pass regulations. So now they have an order that you have to start reporting safety test results to the government, and I don't even understand what a safety test would be for an AI. I wonder if they've even defined it. This seems like a meaningless thing to make you submit meaningless paper. The similar laws in the past have been met by people sending up blank pages or just copies of one phrase over and over or something, just so they can say they filed something, which I think is probably what's going to happen here. People are just, I've done things like this. When you have to do compliance like this, you just fill out something that looks kind of right. Don't think just fill in the page. As a matter of fact, using ChatGPT to fill out, hey, ChatGPT, write a safety report. It would just make something look sort of like a safety report. That's probably all you need. Anyway, because I don't think anybody understands what the risks are and what safety tests you want to do. So it seems outrageously too early for the government to demand that you provide safety inspection, but that's what they're doing. So Elon Musk has Neuralink, and he's been promising it's going to add on to your brain to make you smarter and basically give you magic powers for years. But then they implanted it in monkeys. It tended to kill the monkeys. So now they implanted it in human, he says. And what he said, I thought, was quite reasonable. Other people, what he said was the person is recovering well, and it is receiving data from their neurons, which is fine. This has been going on for, people have been doing this for a long time for epilepsy patients, and I got a friend with a brain implant for Parkinson's and so on. So this is not at all groundbreaking stuff. But anyway, he's got his version of it working in a human. And what's not clear is what it's going to do for you, but he says the first product is going to be telepathy, where you can control your computer directly from your mind. And that might be nice, I don't know. I don't even like Siri, but anyway. But I certainly, for people that are paralyzed or something, then it would make sense, and that's why it's currently in use. For people who have a serious medical problem, like they're paralyzed, then you give them a brain implant so they can type and control an artificial voice and things like that. So anyway, we'll see what comes of it.
I'll take some extra RAM.
Well, yeah, I mean, at first when I heard of the Google chip, I said, that would be great. I would take that if I could be connected to Google all the time. But then when I learned more about the consequences, I said, well, I think it's just as well not to jump on this. Yeah. I mean, if it was safe and reliable and it worked, then it would just be like having a cell phone without having to, but that would be awesome. But it doesn't seem like it's that way at all. Like, going to Mars might sound cool until you find out you get a lethal dose of radiation on the way there. There's no food when you get there. There's no way to come back at all. It's not the fun trip you think it would be. So this one is pretty amazing. Oakland is so worried about crime on the streets, they have told their employees at Oakland Kaiser Permanente not to go out for lunch. So that sounds pretty ridiculous. I haven't been to Oakland in a while. Is it really that bad?
Sounds over the top.
I don't know. Are there just people mugging you in the middle of broad daylight in Oakland to a large extent? I don't know. Kaiser seems to think so. Cory Doctorow is a very famous science fiction writer and tech critic, and he gave a DEF CON talk. I didn't know he did it at DEF CON, but I heard about this platform, the enshittification of tech, and it really is good. He talks about Google as a prime example. When Google started, 10 or 15 years ago, it was great. You type in a query, you get the answers you want. Then suddenly ads started appearing. Then they started mixing ads in without labeling them as ads. And now they're sticking in their commercial products tied to their company until you really can't find anything much anymore. And he said, this is how they die. First, they're good to their users. Then they abuse their users to make things better for the business customers. Finally, they abuse the business customers to claw back all the value, and then they die. And this does seem to be the natural evolution of tech companies. When they're young upstarts, they just accomplished a mission and it's great. Then they get more and more greedy and selfish and abusive until they drive everyone away and then a new upstart takes over. So it's sort of like, the old generation of plants dying and the new generation coming up. So anyway, it's interesting, and he has a plan, and the plan is, of course, better competition. If the antitrust part of the government actually did their job and broke up the big tech companies into smaller companies so they wouldn't have monopolies, then you could have competition, and that's supposed to be the cure for this, Adam Smith's invisible hand, that if you start treating your users badly, people will just move to the competing product, and that will give you a motivation to knock it off. Anyway, all right, that's enough of this. Let me stop this.